In their construction of Death Star 1 and Death Star 2, the Empire attempted to obtain a superweapon that would provide them with the capabilities to destroy a planet, thereby easily crushing rebellious and dissenting worlds and ruling the galaxy through fear. But in doing so, the Empire placed tremendous resources into the Death Star projects, as large amounts of credits, manpower, and resources were redirected to the construction of these battle stations. In the case of the first Death Star alone, the Empire spent 2 decades focusing on the completion of the project, representing a significant opportunity cost, wherein they could have spent those resources on other projects. So the question must be asked, was the Empire better off without the Death Stars, and the significant human, monetary, and capital resources that they cost? In this video expose, I will describe why even though they may have been viewed as a waste of resources by the upper levels of the Imperial military in hindsight, and there were other methods available to them to quell dissent upon a planet and rule through fear, the Death Stars represented something larger and more important in regards to the Force, that these Imperial officers could not understand or comprehend. Although hindsight is not the best way to judge the value of Death Star 1 and 2, seeing what the highest-ranking Imperial officers thought about the projects after their destruction does provide the most honest opinions about the Empire's decision to undertake their construction. Cassio Tagg, a member of the Joint Chiefs and chief of the Imperial Army before the destruction of the first Death Star, was one of the rare Joint Chief members who questioned the believed invincibility of the Death Star before it was destroyed in the Battle of Yavin. Having survived the Battle of Yavin, his foresight regarding the weaknesses of the Death Star garnered him the praise of the Emperor, and resulted in his being elevated to the rank of Grand General, wherein he was the head of the Imperial military. Importantly, in a conversation with Darth Vader, following the Battle of Yavin, Tagg openly expressed his frustration with how much of the Empire's resources had been wasted in the construction of the Death Star, even going so far as to refer to it as Tarkin's folly. For Tagg, in lieu of constructing the enormous battle station, he questioned how many more Super Star Destroyers the Empire could have added to its fleet if the resources weren't spent on a single asset. Cassio Tagg was not the only high-ranking officer who saw the Death Stars as an enormous blunder on the part of the Emperor and his Empire, and a waste of Imperial resources. General Julius Shale, a legendary military strategist within the army of the Galactic Empire, gave her honest opinions about the Death Star projects following the Battle of Endor at a secret summit on Akiva. Having then viewed the destruction of both Death Stars, Shale went even further in her criticisms of the Empire's decision to undertake both construction projects. Placing the blame at the feet of the Emperor himself for the Empire's decision to place its confidence in Death Stars 1 and 2, Shale openly called the Emperor a decrepit old goblin who placed his trust in the dark side of some ancient and insane religion. She went on to state that she had always disagreed with the creation of both Death Stars, seeing them as an enormous waste of time, manpower, effort, and money. So were Cassio Tagg and Julius Shale correct? Would the Empire have been better off without the Death Stars? Clearly, if the Empire had redirected resources away from the Death Star projects and used them elsewhere, the Empire could have enormously expanded their star fleet, thereby having some additional protection through diversification rather than a single asset, the importance for which was stressed by Tagg. But how much of an increase could the Empire have gained in its fleet? While both Death Star 1 and 2 are estimated to have cost the Empire over 1 trillion galactic credits for each project, even if we take the lowest amount of 2 trillion in total, we see that the Empire could have made significant additions to its fleet. For example, taking just the Imperial II-class Star Destroyer, which the reason for focusing on this starship will be clear in just a moment, at a cost of roughly 146 million galactic credits, the Empire could have built roughly 13,700 new Imperial II-class Star Destroyers. Given that at its peak, the Empire had roughly 25,000 Imperial Star Destroyers in its fleet, this represents an extensive increase in the size of the Imperial Navy, as they could have increased their fleet by almost 55%. Even if you decrease this number of new Star Destroyers by a significant fraction to allow for resources to be spent on the training of crews to man these new starships, and for the creation of supporting vehicles such as TIE fighters, diverting resources away from the Death Star projects and towards the expansion of the Imperial Navy would have allowed for thousands of new Star Destroyers to be created. And remember, these numbers represent the lowest level of expansion, as the Death Stars cost more than the 2 trillion credits used in the calculations. This situation would have been a dream for TAG, as the expanded fleet no longer focused on a single asset and could be used as a force multiplier. Additionally, it reduced the chances of situations that couldn't be accounted for, such as the lineage of Darth Vader showing up, being guided by a Force Ghost who was once a Jedi Master, and taking advantage of a construction flaw systematically built into the battle station by the head scientist to sabotage it. Now, there's no question that the Death Star provided the Empire with an unprecedented ability to easily destroy an entire planet. Rogue One demonstrated how only a small fraction of the super laser's power could completely devastate a planet, let alone what its full capabilities did to Alderaan. Its destructive power could be brought to bear on any type of planet. It ensured that its fleet wasn't put in danger, and the speed that it could unleash its full power would guarantee their targets would remain on the planet at the time of its destruction. But that said, the Imperial II-class Star Destroyer was chosen in our example for a reason, as it at least allows us to compare destructive capabilities adequately. Not only was the Imperial-class Star Destroyer the backbone of the Imperial Navy, they were crucial in the Empire's ability to launch a planetary assault. The Empire established a naval code, known as Base Delta Zero, wherein they would engage in the complete surface destruction of a planet. Importantly, a Base Delta Zero operation could be carried out by as few as 3 Imperial-class Star Destroyers, thereby eliminating all life and natural resources on a planet, as its surface was destroyed in only a few hours. Although the Imperial Navy did not have the ability to do to a planet what the Death Star could, it could completely destroy a planet's surface and render it uninhabitable. And with the addition of thousands of new Imperial-class Star Destroyers in lieu of the Death Star, the Empire could unleash this destructive ability, and the threat of it, across the galaxy on potentially hundreds of additional planets. Therefore, perhaps Tag and Shale were right. Perhaps the Death Stars were a waste of resources, and an enormous blunder on the part of individuals such as the Emperor and Tarkin. But while the Death Stars may have been an error from a strict military point of view, what high-ranking officers such as Tag and Shale failed to realize, and what they couldn't comprehend, was the importance of the Death Star projects to Darth Sidious's ultimate plans regarding the Force, and the potential it offered in being able to gain dominance over the light side. 5 years after the rise of the Empire, while meditating within the Sith Shrine, located underneath the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, which had become his secret lair, Sidious gave thought to the words of his former master Darth Plagueis regarding the light's ability to strike back, and how the Death Star figured into his plans for complete dominance over the Force. Sidious understood that he was not free from the potential onslaught of the light, and saw truth in Plagueis' statement that the Force could strike back. In fact, he even understood that while it was only a mere flicker, there was light that still persisted within his apprentice Darth Vader. Therefore, Sidious's ultimate goal, the one thing that was paramount above everything else, was to ensure that Plagueis' words did not come to fruition. That is, he wanted to protect himself by ensuring that the Force could not strike back at him, by snuffing out the remaining light that existed forever. Therefore, the purpose of both Death Stars for the Emperor was not just to serve military ends. Rather, it was to serve the ends of the Emperor and his ultimate goal of preventing the Force from striking back at him. Towards this end, the Death Star would serve as a symbol and tangible reminder of the dark side's power, thereby allowing Sidious to no longer have to waste his time portraying that symbol himself. His time could then be spent gaining true dominance over the Force. Once the Death Star was in place, Sidious could, together with Vader, set about their most important work within the Sith Shrine of coaxing the final secrets from the dark side. So there we have it, why the Emperor's ultimate goal of preventing the Force from striking back at him made the Death Stars necessary, even if the Empire's military leaders didn't understand this. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me, for Force Multiplier.